email address, we will send out the presentation following the event, and it's a good way to kind of keep connected with us as well. So if you can go onto the chat and just pop your email address in there if you'd like to receive the slides. So my name's Laura McNeil. I am the Customer Engagement Advisor for CITB, responsible for all things Suffolk and construction. So I'm the point of contact for just under 1,000 construction companies in Suffolk that are CITB registered. So part of my job is dealing with companies, making sure that they've got access to funding for training, and addressing kind of their skills requirements. And then part of my job is obviously talking to stakeholders and schools, job centres about careers in construction. So I work across the Suffolk area, and my colleague Claire, she works across Norfolk. So I'll just let you introduce yourself, Claire.
Hi everybody. Yeah, so I'm Claire Daly, and I do the same job as Laura, but in Norfolk. My background is I've spent 18 years in apprenticeships, so I've got lots of experience working with apprentices, working with the local providers and colleges. So any help in that direction, whether you're in Norfolk or in Suffolk, feel free to send them our way, and we can help you. But yeah, exactly the same job as Laura, but just covering Norfolk.
Thanks, Claire. So hopefully everybody can see the presentation front page. So we're going to talk to you today just to really kind of give you an overview of careers in construction and how we can hopefully work with you and connect you potentially with either companies that are doing kind of jobs in the vicinity of where your school is, so projects, or companies that are based fairly close to you. And we'd like to kind of build a relationship between the companies that need to promote apprenticeships or to attract kind of graduates, and what you do. So if there's any schools out there that might have sixth form, we want you to make your students aware of what construction potentially would have to offer them when they've come out of university, and maybe you know, connect them with companies while they're still at school in sixth form that they can then come back to work for, hopefully. So we have construction ambassadors that work for companies. So whether it's a site manager, a bricklayer, a carpenter, we have construction ambassadors that Claire and I are either recruiting or working with or staying in contact with to connect them with the world of kind of education. So Claire, can I just confirm that the slide is what ambassadors do?
Yeah, it is.
Brilliant. So like the slide says there, we want to try to help as much as possible people working in construction to actually talk about it, because they are the right people. And the construction ambassadors quite often are closer to the age of the students than potentially like me or someone kind of coming to the end of their career. So where possible, we like the construction ambassadors to have kind of recently, but certainly within the last 10 years, have been through education themselves, and be able to kind of give a realistic view of what their journey has been like into the construction industry and where they are now. So yeah, so it's all about raising awareness, like it says there. We do work with job centres as well, but obviously schools are really key. Sorry, employers are keen to engage with schools because there is a massive kind of skills gap, skills shortage in the construction industry, and we need to make construction an attractive career option, and something that students and, more importantly, parents would like to consider for their children. So it's all about changing and challenging the perceptions of the image of the construction industry, and that's what our ambassadors do. And like I said, Claire and I do recruit ambassadors, and we work with companies to connect their ambassadors with local schools. So when we talk to our construction ambassadors, you know, we do kind of talk to them about the fact that it's a great opportunity to develop their career. So it's good for career development. Many companies now, if they're bidding to work on certain projects and get certain jobs, they have to build it into their pitch that they're going to be engaging with the local community. So that's all about corporate social responsibility, etc. So it is an attractive thing for companies to do, not just because they want to you know, make a difference in their local community, but because we would potentially like to attract future generations, so that even if students go off to university and get degrees, that something that has pricked their interest while they're at school makes them think there may be a place in construction for me. So it's not just about the biblical trades. It's not just about bricklaying, carpentry, although they are great ways in, and the ways in that lots of people have into construction. There are so many company directors that started as apprenticeships. And I think, having spent about 5-6 years working for CITB, that's what I find most refreshing in my contact with companies. So I could be meeting a company director who 20-30 years ago was an apprentice himself, and Claire's going to talk to you a little bit more about those kind of case studies later in the presentation. So one of the main things that we use to kind of engage with schools, especially during and post pandemic, is Go Construct. So many of you might have heard of this website. It's a web-based resource for schools and stakeholders. And I suggest we will send you information about Go Construct, but if you haven't been onto it, then do Google Go Construct and have a browse on the website. We'll be touching on different resources that it offers during the presentation. And for those of you that don't know, that might recognise that image on there, that's actually King's Cross Station. So next time you go to King's Cross, you can look up and you'll see that. And that is one of the big projects that companies have worked on, and we're going to touch on what working in construction means during the presentation. So we're just going to show you a quick video at the moment, and so hopefully I will come off this screen and go onto that screen. Can you see? Yeah. Can you see that?
Yeah, that's
right. Brilliant.
You all right? You been up to?
Yeah, fine, just digging a hole.
Digging a hole? You're not just digging a hole. You're creating lasting foundations. Look around you. We don't just build houses. We build homes for families. We build communities. We build skills and knowledge. We build relationships. We build excitement. We build hopes and dreams. We build careers. We build the economy. We build legacy. And we build for the future. We're in construction. We're building a better Britain.
Right, sorry if you've seen loads of topical news pop up in the middle of that. But yeah, that is working in construction. That kind of summarises that you're involved with loads and loads of things that are like absolutely crucial to the country. So nothing really happens without construction. If homes need to be built, roads need to be made, to get there. But the one thing that it's good to kind of state at this point is what people that work in construction are continually invested in. Their skills and knowledge is constantly updated. The employers, through working with CITB, can actually get funding to go towards qualifications, and like I said, continually updating what the workforce are doing. So it's very hard to kind of do anything in life without coming into contact with something that has been involved in construction. And it's a good kind of indicator of how well kind of UK PLC is doing. So generally with like things like recessions and stuff, the markers for going into recession and out of recession often come from UK construction. So yeah, it's an amazing industry to be involved in, and there are lots and lots of benefits. And where you start doesn't necessarily, you're not going to stay there forever. Where you start and where you end up is quite impressive. So a little bit about CITB. I'm just going to ask, does anybody, know of CITB, of what you've heard? What do you think we do? If you have any kind of answers, then pop them into the chat and Claire can look at that. But CITB is the Construction Industry Training Board. And it's one of only 2 training boards in the whole of the UK, engineering being the other one. And the idea behind it was construction is an important industry. It has to maintain good standards. And it has to show that it's, forward looking and pushing, the limits in terms of improving skills and moving with the times. So construction is an important industry for the UK. And for that reason, it has a training board so that the construction companies are supported in investing in training. So not all construction companies that are registered to CITB pay a levy, but most do. And the idea of that levy is it's then reinvested back into the construction industry through the companies, through the training that we do. So it's careers, standards and qualifications, and training and development. They are the 3 main kind of pillars of what the CITB is here to do. So mine and Claire's jobs, part of it is engaging on one-to-one level with companies. Part of it is doing things like this, promoting construction as a career. But ultimately, we want to have the right people in the right places with the right skills. And that's what the CITB kind of mission is about. So today we are promoting construction as a career choice. We're going to be talking about apprenticeships. But if I was back at school and I was, say, a teacher or a parent, I would want to know actually what industry do I want my child to go into that they're going to be supported to develop their skills and to continually add to them. And I think construction is an industry that you can definitely say that will happen. It's not an industry where you just stay still or you've got to fund your own development. Once you get into a company, as an employee, if they are CITB registered, then they will be investing in you, either renewing your skills or updating them, or like developing them. So it's good from that point of view, and that's where we as the training board come in. So Claire's going to talk to you a little bit about the construction college at Bircham.
Hi, everybody. So just to go on to a little bit more about the history of CITB. So that photo there is obviously of our National Construction College in Norfolk, for those of you that may or may not know. Now, the CITB, or Construction Industry Training Board, was set up in July 1964, and it was originally set up to build a safe, professional and fully qualified construction industry. Originally, it was one of 21 industrial training boards established in the wake of the Industrial Training Act in 1964, but it was primarily to address concerns about UK skills shortages. CITB, like other industrial training boards, we received special powers to collect a levy, which is what Laura was talking about in the previous slides. So we have special powers from government to collect a levy from private firms within its sector, and by doing that we can redistribute that in grants, funding and subsidies for training according to standards that is also set. And in this way, it means that employers can share the cost of training fairly while the workforce acquire recognised transferable skills. As a result, CITB is one of the few remaining industrial training boards. As Laura mentioned, we're only one of 2 left with statutory levy raising powers, but we never take this levy for granted. Every 3 years, we have to show government that we still have the industry behind us in a process which is called consensus. During this time, it's important to make you aware that we've undergone a name change or two ourselves. In 2003, when the Department for Education and Skills instructed us to change to CITB Construction Skills. So that may be a name that you're familiar with if you've been around for, obviously being aware of CITB in the construction industry for many years. And that was because of our acknowledgement of the partnership with the Sector Skills Council. For a time, we were also known as just Construction Skills, or C Skills as it was abbreviated, particularly for the parts of our organisation that was delivering training. But in 2013, we decided to go back to our original name, which was CITB, as that was still the most widely recognised name that industry knew. We opened our first training centre at Bircham. And that photo is of Bircham Newton in Norfolk, and that was opened in 1966 at an old Royal Air Force airfield. And the large hangars that you can see in the background of that picture, they were used originally to obviously teach trades such as scaffolding, and now they're still used for those same trades. So scaffolding in the hangar to the left, the one in the middle is plant, and the one towards the far end is construction, where they would do things like groundworks. And that is now known as the National Construction College. So as it lists there, we are the largest construction college in Europe, and the courses that they offer: plant, scaffolding, leadership and management, sustainability, groundwork, steeplejack, demolition, engineering, but there are lots more. And if you look at our website, then obviously that gives you an indication of what we cover. Next slide, please, Laura. Thank you. So as I mentioned earlier, my background is apprenticeships. And one of the things that I always used to talk about to students, either at careers events or when I was going into the colleges, I used to often get asked, how do you get an apprenticeship? And it's quite straightforward and quite simple, really. But obviously what you have to do is the student has to be keen and determined, obviously, to find an apprenticeship. What I would suggest is that students approach local employers, and that can be either ones working in the area or larger companies if they've got offices or sites that are closer to you. What I do say to students, and I know obviously this wasn't possible during obviously COVID restrictions, but obviously hearing on from government today, restrictions are going to be lifting and easing. So I do say to students, if you can dress yourself up smartly and go knock on the door, if it's a larger construction company, knock on the door, because that first impression is always a good one. Obviously, don't rule out smaller companies. Smaller companies usually offer a broader range of work. So if a smaller company, for instance, takes on a bricklayer, that bricklayer may also learn how to do the groundworks. He may also be involved in putting the roof on, because smaller companies tend to bring in contractors to do certain elements of it. Or it may be that they have workmen that do them themselves, but you can work alongside them and see what they do. So ultimately, it gives the student more skills. Obviously, CVs are important. You need to leave something with employers or give something to employers so that they can contact you. Obviously, they need to focus on the positive attributes. So when I've been involved in interviews with employers, I know one of the things that lots of employers like to see is, because at 16, 17 or possibly 18, they haven't got lots of life experience that they can record on their CV. So even things like, did they play in their local football team, or did they play in their local hockey team? Things like that indicate that they're team players. Did they have a paper round, which indicates that they can get out of bed and get up early? Did they work with any family members on weekends or in the holidays, where they can draw on the skills that they've learned? It doesn't matter if it was construction, it doesn't matter what it is, but it's just drawing on the fact of the skills. It may be that they've communicated with people. It may be that they've done tasks that they've been asked to do. So it's focusing on those positive attributes which employers like to see. And the other thing that I say to people is, if you send in CVs and they're sending them on email, try and get a name or a contact so that they can follow it up, as opposed to just sending without any detail of anybody, because you don't know, if you haven't got a name, you don't know if anybody's actually looking at it. And one of the things that has happened in the past, and it has been quite a successful way, is you can, I wouldn't say harass the companies, but to make contact with them frequently. I have had employers say to me in the past, I'm giving them an apprenticeship, Claire, because they keep ringing. And so, you know, that's a real benefit, because it shows that the apprentice is keen, or the student is keen. The one thing not to encourage, because they don't like it, is not to encourage, obviously, parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles to ring on their behalf. That's something that is really obviously frowned upon, because I know it's really daunting, and it takes a lot of courage to go into a job interview at 16 when it may be their first one. But they recognise that, employers recognise that, and that's the job that they do, to put them at ease, just to get the best out of them in that interview. So it's much better getting them to ring, even if they fluff their words, they go silent for a time, just to get them, to give them that experience, and to make the company aware that they're interested. And the other method that I always suggest to students, and we're obviously coming into, we will be approaching February half term, we'll be approaching obviously Easter holidays, is to say to students to offer themselves up for free work experience. Now, most employers, if they get if a student approaches them and said, "Can I come and work for you for free?" most employers would absolutely snap their hand off. And it's not because they're after free labour. Obviously that is a real benefit, but also what it's showing to that employer is that this student is prepared to come and work for me for nothing, and just to work and show me their skills. So it's good experience for the student to record on their CV anyway. But I have had many occasions where students have offered themselves up for free work experience. Usually the employer would give them something at the end of the week or the 2 weeks, whether it's tools, whether it's a bit of money in their pocket. But the most important thing is they may get offered an apprenticeship, because what I've found in the past is students have they've worked for a week, a couple of weeks, and then what happens is the employer will say to me, they're brilliant. They're a real asset. Everybody's got on really well with them. I want them to start an apprenticeship, and I've offered them an apprenticeship. So it's getting away from the fact of offering yourself up for free work experience, and recognizing that actually the bigger picture is it could turn into a job offer. Next slide, please, Laura. So here are some case studies. Now these are real. I've changed the names of this particular students. That I aren't limited to 3 case studies. I could talk about successful students all day, but these are just 3 that I've drawn on because they're 3 different situations. So the first one, Adam, he trained as an apprentice bricklayer. He completed his level 2 and level 3 apprenticeship for a local builder. He enjoyed his apprenticeship, but after qualifying and over time, after he gained some experience, he felt, I would just want to progress his career that much further. So he decided to go back into learning, to train to become an assistant manager. He became an assistant site manager. He then became a site manager, and he's now working for a national house builder as a contracts manager. So he's moved up the ranks, started out as an apprentice bricklayer, but obviously he's now running the sites that obviously deliver new houses as a national house building organisation. The second one was a learner of mine that completed his level 2 and level 3 apprenticeship as a site carpenter. Now, he was quite fortunate in that the organisation that he worked for, they had a site carpentry side, but they also had a bench joinery side. And just to establish, if you're not familiar with those terms, the site carpentry, they would install things like windows, doors, stairs, whereas the bench joinery side, they would make the windows, they would make the doors, they would make the stairs. So he had the experience over the course of his apprenticeship of doing both. So he was fortunate, and it doesn't happen very often, because usually apprentices haven't got the time to be able to do it, and they haven't got the skills to slot into both aspects. But he managed it. He completed his apprenticeship. He continued to work for the company for several years, but then he decided he wanted to go it alone. And he set up his own business. He's now working very successfully, running his own property renovation company. And he's had 2 apprentices in the past who have gone through their level 2 and level 3, and he's now on to his 3rd apprentice. So he's been in business a good 12, 13 years, running his own property renovation company. And case study 3, this was a learner that sat out on a maintenance apprenticeship. Now, maintenance apprenticeships, they're one of those apprenticeships whereby you're not covering one particular skill, you're covering all aspects of a skill. So you may be learning to tile, you may be learning to plaster, you may be learning to patch repair brickwork or splice out skirting that's damaged. So it's a real kind of mix and blend of various different trades. And although he enjoyed his apprenticeship, he always wanted and had that desire to pursue his career further. He spoke to his company once he'd completed his level 2, and he decided that he wanted to progress into a level 3 site supervision qualification. And he knew that the benefits of that would be that like Adam above, he could go on to running a site or becoming site foreman. But then he saw an opportunity for a national company as a trainee quantity surveyor, and he finished his qualification with that company, and because he decided that was the right fit for him, and now he's working and enjoying his career as a qualified quantity surveyor, because then once he'd finished his qualification, they then put him on to do further study, obviously as a quantity surveyor. So there's 3 different aspects there. They always say that there's you don't have to follow one particular route, and these are 3 different examples where you can get from A to B, but not necessarily all going the same way. So you may have students that wish to do A levels or T levels and progress on to further education, HNCs, HNDs, and do it that way. Or it may be they can go through the apprenticeship route, but still end up in a managerial capacity or an academic capacity in construction.
Yeah.
And Laura's just going to play a short video now, which just confirms what I've just talked about, really, the case studies. And this is a real life example of a learner that started out as an apprentice and is now a trainee site manager.
Yeah, and just to add in what Claire's just said about the trainee quantity surveyor, they're probably earning more than all of us sat here. The salaries for quantity surveyors at the moment, because of the shortages that exist, are extremely attractive, and all of these people will not have paid a penny to get degree level qualifications. So at the same time as learning, they will probably have cars. Many of them will have been able to buy houses because they're earning while they're learning. And because of the way the CITB is set up, we support the employers via grants to put them through all these qualifications. But I'll just show you this video now of a learner, as we've said. Sorry, I don't know which one.
Third one along, that's it. Third one along, that's it.
I can't see because of the top bar. Hopefully it'll come on in a minute. Doesn't seem to be. I'll move this. Right.
So I've got my essay written, and I've been working on it for about a week. So now I'm going to show you how I use Grammarly to edit.
Hi guys, my name is Harry Rowan. I'm 22 and I'm a trainee site manager for Robertson Construction in the Northwest. I hope you're all okay. I'm just going to make a quick 2 to 3 minute video about my last 5 years working in construction, which can hopefully give you some motivation in your career paths and hopefully get you started on your journey. So I basically started in construction as an apprentice bricklayer for Carillion. I really enjoyed it. Hands-on, practical, outdoors, meeting new people, learning every day. It was my type of learning. In January 2018, I lost my apprenticeship. The company I was working for went into liquidation, so I know how it feels to feel lost with your career, not know where you're going to end up, and overall scared and confused. And it's not a nice feeling. But luckily for me, I got recalled back into construction. Robertson wanted an apprentice back on the job, and I couldn't say no really. I quickly completed my level 3 MVQ and diploma in bricklaying, and I quickly got myself into the management side of construction. Robertsons have kindly let me do my triple STS course, and I've just enrolled onto a HNC, which is a Higher National Certificate in Construction at Liverpool College, which I'm excited to get started on, really. I'm making sure I'm putting lads to work safely. I'm doing paperwork, issuing permits, daily activity briefings. I'm overseeing works where, as my building knowledge isn't the best, as I'm still young and I'm learning, and I'm always making sure I'm out on site and listening to my peers and the people around me. The key foundations with hard work, which goes a long way, punctuality and attendance, perseverance, determination, all these things, all them keys add up to a successful career in anything that you do in life, whether it be a bricklayer, whether it be working in an office or being a car mechanic. If you do them simple things with turning up on time and working hard, people notice, and it goes a long way in companies. Trust me, I'm still doing it now because I'm such a young age still. So I'm still putting myself forward. If it means staying back on a Wednesday night, or if it means coming in early on a Saturday morning, if you might not like doing it, but if you put yourself forward for these things, it goes a long way and people notice it. I know we're in tough times at the moment, but good times are coming, so keep your head up, stay positive, and hopefully I can speak to you soon. So thank you.
So that's just a little flavour. I feel really conscious. I can't actually see any of you. All I can see is the screen. I can't even see myself. So that's just a snapshot of many young people that are in construction now that are on really good paths to some very good positions within the industry, and many of them have started as apprentices. So if there's anything you would like to speak to Claire or I about, whether in Norfolk or Suffolk, about talking to students more and getting our ambassadors in, then please do get in contact. So some key facts about construction. I have touched on this, but it's a massive industry. There are 2.6 million jobs across the UK in construction. I think we're only second to something like the NHS. So it's a huge industry. We are in desperate need of people that we need to come into it. We've got people that are retiring, and we need kind of new recruits across the industry. So whether it's your quantity surveyors, your site managers, your bricklayers, your kind of biblical trades, we need a whole range of people. So we need people to come in at different levels. So please don't think, if you're working in schools, oh, this is just for people that want to leave at 16 and get an apprenticeship. Construction information is for everybody, whether they're going to university, they're not considering it at the moment. We want to kind of put construction in their minds because of these kind of figures. Claire spoke about the case studies, but I know that both Claire and I, when we go to companies to talk about submitting like funding bids for training of up to kind of 15,000, in some cases up to 25,000, we will meet a director at that meeting who will have started as an apprentice. It's very rare that you're in a room with people that have come in at like director level, having not spent any time in industry. So construction is one of those industries where you can start as an apprentice and end up as a company director. So it's just a few facts to kind of give you there, but you will find out lots more if you go on to Go Construct. And we're going to be looking at some of the resources that are on there. Now, just one little anecdote in terms of making your mark on the world. When I did a construction ambassador course, we always ask ambassadors to say what you're proud of and what you've done in the industry. One of the ambassadors, part of her presentation was she had been involved in the planning and the site management of a project that went on to become a nursing home, and it was where her grant like ended up, and she was just like really moved by that, the fact that she'd been involved in something that ended up having a massive impact on her life and her family, and obviously at the end. So it was really moving how she spoke about it. And I know lots of people within construction will walk past buildings and go, I was involved in that, or I laid bricks on that. And I'm sure Claire will have anecdotes in the same way. People who are in construction will walk around and like recognise places, big projects that they've been involved in. So it's a great way to kind of make your mark on the world. Claire, do you want to say anything?
We've just got a couple of questions actually
All right,
that have come in. I was going to pick them up at the end, but it may be because we're talking about things like this. So Sam has asked, the case study seems to demonstrate that the industry is still male dominated. What is being done to encourage women into industry? Well, there are obviously, I can give you case studies of women in construction. I personally, there aren't as many women in construction in the craft apprenticeship side, being completely honest with you, as what there are obviously male. Needless to say though, it doesn't say that there aren't. There was, I know over the years, I've had students, I've had female painters. Female painters come in because they have an aspiration to go into interior design. So they want to have a better understanding of the application to follow their channels into the design side. And also I knew of a carpentry apprentice, a female, that she worked for her father actually, and they work, it was, whereas it usually says a name and sons, it was something and daughter. I can't remember the name, but it was, I used to see it on the vans driving around. And the other example that I have, I know that there are several national house builders, several electrical and plumbing companies that have females working for them, whether that be in the as site managers. On my LinkedIn, there's several organisations that have female site managers or trainee assistants as well. So there's plenty being done to encourage women into construction, but I still think that there's a lot of work that we still can do to encourage women into construction. But there are lots of roles, and the women tend to go for the more technical roles rather than the apprenticeship and the craft side. Although I have been fortunate to meet a female bricklayer on site. That was one day when I went on the site in Lingwood. She was mentoring my apprentice, and she was brilliant. She was absolutely fantastic. So yes, there are women working in construction. They tend to go for the more technical roles. But yeah, is there anything you want to add to that, Laura?
Yeah, it was just to say the ambassador course that I actually ran, where that story came out of her being involved in the care home that her own nan had ended up in. She was a female construction ambassador who is a kind of planner within her company. So she's got quite a high level role, and like Claire said, that is technical. But there is there's an organisation called Women in Construction. So if any of you would like us to kind of engage more with the girls and your female students, then Women in Construction is a really good place to start. Again, if you Google that, but we will include it. I'll just make a note to include that in the follow-up email. So I'll send the details of Women in Construction, but that's a good kind of organisation to start, and that's something that CITB have supported in the past to kind of do that kind of work to engage with female students. I'll just show you a video now.
We've just got one more question, Laura. We'll just pick up on that. It was to you from Katie saying, do we know of any building firms in Suffolk who offer work experiences due to health and safety? She's been told that you have to be 18. We do come across this quite frequently. So what I would say to you, they do it under because of the insurance side. That's what they say, but we can work with them. So what I would say is if you talk to us directly, and then we can obviously help you and try and move things through with the companies that you've been talking to, just to try and move things along positively, because what we want to do is offer those work experience opportunities, and without knowing the companies that you're referring to, it's very difficult for us to approach them.
So Katie, if you drop me an email, I'll be sending the follow-up email. So if you drop me an email, I will try to work with construction companies that I know of that might be able to have some people under 18, but we'll be able to kind of talk about that. So I'm just going to show you this video about the best things about working in construction, and there are some women in the video. So enjoy.
The best thing about my job is really working in a team, working in a big collection of people from different skills, different backgrounds, coming together to build the building.
The best thing about my job is the ability to influence people at every level, to ensure that people go home safely at the end of every day.
I think the best thing about working in my role is the variety you get working in the construction industry and seeing something start from the beginning all the way to the end and having a satisfaction of being involved in such a large project.
The best thing about my job is I get to meet lots of different people throughout the project, because my role involves working with every single person on the project.
Liaising with different business functions on a daily basis and learning from them as well, that how they go about their business in order to deliver a successful product for our clients. So that's the most satisfying thing from a job.
Best thing about my job is that I get to apply everything that I've learned in the classroom and apply it on site and get to see that happen.
Best thing about my job is that I get to meet different people every day. I get to go out to different sites every day, so I'm never in the same place doing the same thing, and I really like the variety.
So that just gives you a little insight into different roles within construction, and like I said, it's not just the roles that you might imagine are, you know, trade roles, etc. There is much more to construction, and there has to be, because the project has to start somewhere. So before a brick is laid, there are many people involved: architects, quantity surveyors, etc. So if we can go, we're going to go on to Go Construct. So this is a web-based resource, and some of you will be aware of it, but it's what we put a lot of the content on. Go Construct also has channels on obviously YouTube, which we're looking at now, and I think they're on Instagram. Yeah, they're on Instagram and YouTube to try and engage with different audiences. Now, if you all work in schools and education, you will know students who are, you know, good at maths, ones that are good at geography, and we feel like in construction sometimes they pass us by because it's not like an A to B type. Oh, I want to work in construction if I'm like good at geography. It's not an A to B thing that people think. So one of the Instagram campaigns that we run through Go Construct was about different tribes. So I would appeal to you as people working in schools, you know, students that are good team players, like Claire said, that is something that employers do look for. So if you've got a student that loves PE and is a good team player, loves sports, you know, has, you know, ambition to do well, that actually does relate to construction, very much so. Maths, so much maths involved in construction. There's some very expensive mistakes can happen if people haven't got good math skills. And one good thing about apprenticeships is they cannot progress through their apprenticeship without showing that they've got a certain level of ability with what they might have referred to as kind of basic skills. They need their maths and their English. So it isn't an industry that you can come into without having those core skills. So we very much want to engage with students that, you know, do have these different skill sets that might not automatically think, oh yeah, that's going to be suited to construction. There's loads going around with climate change now. The way that construction is developing and adapting to be more, you know, environmentally friendly is perfect for people that like geography. There's so many inspections that need to be done before anything is done with the site, or to select the right site, and that will obviously apply to geography. And in that video that you just watched, there was the BIM manager, so that's building information management. So often before anything is built, there's some computer generated image of a building that people want to build up, and that's relating to obviously people that have got good skills in tech. So people working in schools, we need you to kind of speak to your students that are, you know, good in these areas about construction careers. So this was a Go Construct ad that we've run. So whatever you love, there's a role in construction for you, and that is so true. So we will be sending out a copy of this presentation. So please promote to all your geography people, your design people, your maths gurus that construction is going to welcome them with open arms. Again, variety. So these are all the kind of, you can order these posters, I think, through Go Construct. And if you can't, then get in touch with me and Claire, and we can get some materials sent out to you so that you can advertise these in and around your schools and colleges. So one campaign that we ran, which I think is really interesting from a kind of education perspective, was our Pride and Joy campaign. So it was based on the concept of students generally want to make their parents proud, and parents want their kids to be happy. So that's where the Pride and Joy title came from. So I'm just going to show you a clip from that campaign, and we will include all the clips in the follow-up email as well. So if you do want to show them as part of your engagement, that's great. So this is the Pride and Joy.
Are you proud of my qualification?
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, Shay. You worked so hard to get there first. You did amazingly well. Very proud of you.
Do you reckon I earn a good wage?
Oh yes, I see your wage slip every Friday. You can buy the Chinese tonight.
Yeah, I have a feeling I'm going to have to now anyway.
Yes.
Are you proud of what I do?
Yes. You're sad now.
Do you think I've made the right career choice?
Yes, I'm sure you have. I'm sure you have, and you'll work at it for as long as you want.
And what do you think I'll do next?
Goodness knows. Probably build some.
Mum, you'll have to wipe your tears.
Well, you know me. You know I guess. I get very emotional.
How did you feel on my first day at work?
Proud.
Yeah.
Because you got that job through quite a lot of hard effort and ambition. Would you employ me?
No.
Or Ta?
Of course I would, because I've seen you go in for a wee boy that got everything done for you, to somebody that can do twice as much as me, and you're not frightened of the hard graft now.
Would you like to come and see what I do?
Definitely, I'd like to.
Definitely, yeah.
Oh, hi, Mum. Here's the pink high vis. Jump in, we're going to take you onto the site.
Welcome at Lawson 1C.
I've got to wear that, have I?
Yes, you have.
Oh, okay, lovely.
This is a wee mock bit I've set up to show you what I do every day, since you think I sit and do nothing as it is.
Never thought that at all?
Ah, so you did.
So those slopey bits are the seats?
That's where the seat structure will go, yeah.
Yeah, well, you're all talking technical. I haven't got a clue what you're on about.
That big yellow thing is a crane he's on.
Yeah, I like the crane.
Have a look.
All right.
Spot on.
Spot on.
That's what we want.
I've got a female bricklayer at the moment who lives in Llanelli. What should we do with her CV?
If I get her CV in, we'll bring her to site, get her to have a look around, and then we can arrange a start date from there then.
Great, thank you very much.
Well, as long as you got your wallet, we'll get some sandwiches, mate.
It's back to me now, is it?
Back to you, back to you.
What impresses me is the scale of it, I think. I've realised that you play a big part in a big scheme. I thought you didn't play quite as big a role.
Office boy.
Well, maybe, yeah.
This is the first time I've come to work with Lisa, and I'm very impressed with what she does. Very proud. I'm going to get upset now. Very proud for what she's doing.
Whenever you see Mum get a little bit upset, it always makes you feel emotional.
It's been excellent to see what he actually does day to day. I'm amazed. My wee boy's not a wee boy anymore. He's a tradesman.
To see him dealing with that responsibility actually really makes me very proud and quite emotional, actually.
How do I feel today? You got to bottle it up and say, that's my boy and he's done it, he's cracked it. So I'm not going to tell him. A wee tear in the eye. Where's this wee burger van you're telling me about?
That way.
Up that way, is it far?
No.
So yeah, we have lots of campaigns like that we've run through Go Construct, and you know, it's just as much about engaging with parents as it is about students, because parents and teachers are the two kind of groups that influence students a lot. So please, you can access all of this via the follow-up email, but also do go onto our YouTube channel for Go Construct and see if there are any videos that you think might work within your kind of educational settings. So just to summarise, you know, the UK construction industry, it's about building homes and communities, skills and knowledge, which will be continually invested in. It's about making connections, building your career, being part of like a massive kind of important part of the UK economy. And going forward, it will be about legacy, you know, new buildings, modern methods of construction. And it does relate really closely to what companies are looking for. So these are, you know, some company kind of goals from one of the construction ambassador courses that we did, that they look for people, great people doing great things. You know, it's about spending money wisely. That's your quantity surveyors, because they're ordering all of the, you know, materials for a job. So they need to be involved with that. And it's about delivering outstanding service and being involved in lots of great projects. So whether you're like an apprentice bricklayer or a quantity surveyor, company director, there's a role for you within construction. So just we'll touch on resources, then we'll have some questions. So the Go Construct resources, please do go onto the website, have a browse, see what you find useful. If there's anything that you're looking for that isn't on there, then do let me and Claire know, and we'll have a look into it and see if we can find the answer to your question. If you are interested in ordering resources for schools, then do let us know. I think you can still do it, but it might have changed slightly with the pandemic, so do let us know. You can look at ambassadors. There's lots of day in the life videos on there. So I would encourage you to have a look at the Go Construct website and see how you might best use it. So any questions?
We haven't got any new ones come in, Laura. The two questions that we had from Sam and Katie, we answered at the time.
I'll stop sharing my screen now so that I can feel like I'm back in the room.
If anyone wants to come off mute and ask a question, please feel free.
Yeah, absolutely.
It would be good for us to know, you know, if there's things that you found interesting and useful, you know, from what you've seen as part of the presentation today.
I was just going to say thank you for that. I've learnt loads about construction, so I'm pleased that I came along.
Good. If you've got any follow-up questions, Eve, then obviously feel free to get in contact with us directly if there's anything specific.
Thank you. That's great. Thanks.
Thank you. So just to confirm, we will be sending a follow-up email. Make sure you've put your email addresses in the chat. We'll send the presentation. We'll send the links to Women in Construction for that organisation. I'll send you all the video links that we've used as part of this presentation, and the Go Construct website details. But yeah, it's been really, really good for us to kind of talk to you guys, because we know how important you are in making students making decisions.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's been brilliant to like share with you some of the a whistle-stop tour of construction, and hopefully we are very keen to connect local companies with local schools to have some taster days. So it might be that you've got small groups of students in mind, and we can kind of put that out to our companies and say, would you be able to kind of accommodate maybe 6 students coming to kind of spend a couple of hours with your, you know, workforce. So you might have an apprentice, a site manager, and one of the directors to have a chat with them. So that's the kind of thing me and Claire are currently working on for our areas. And we obviously need, you know, you guys to be able to do that. So thank you for sparing the time to come to our presentation today. It's been really good to engage with you.
I just want to say thank you very much to both of you as well. That was brilliant.
Yeah, thanks, Ashley. Thanks for inviting us along and being able to share with you